Hello everyone, welcome to the recording for week 3, and you can see that week 3 is the continuation of the Elements of Design in HTML unit. We started that in week 2 and are wrapping up in week 3. And as we go into this work, you'll see that we're going to be skipping some of the assignments because you're going to be doing very similar work later on using the NVU program. Now just a reminder though, even though we're skipping some of these, you still need to go through all the sections so you'll learn about those different features of web page design. So for this week, of course, you're going to watch the week 3 recording and do the week 3 write-up. And you'll do the hyperlink assignment. Then you'll go through these sections. So again, even though you're skipping some work, you'll still go through all these like Unit 2 and then Sections 3, Section 4, Section 5, etc. So you also have for this week an HTML code identification assignment. That essentially takes place of this Colors website assignment. Then you have for Thursday, you have just the different sections to go through. No assignment to turn in for the Thursday part, but then you have the quiz. And of course, as always, the quiz previews are posted. Where do I have the quiz preview? Oh, the unit quiz preview is posted right here for the unit quiz. So that's there ready for you. Just a couple reminders before you jump in the work. Remember, I will have assignment samples posted here, screenshots of what your work will look like for all the work. I also have assignment directions. So these are videos that I do of me doing the work, so you'll see how to do the work. So please use these before you jump into the work to help you out. And again, recent student questions students asked that I think all the students could learn from, so I'll post those there. All right, let's jump into week 3. So here we are, week 3, and again, that's part of the Elements of Design unit. So week 3, let's look at the week 3 write-up as we always do. I want to look at the write-up before we go in so I can answer the questions for you, right? So number 1, list and describe the 2 types of links you encounter on the web. Give examples of the code for an internal link and for an external link. Provide the complete coding to link to Facebook. That's going to be an external link. What does default mean in web design? Give me exact code you would use if you wanted to make a link to your personal email address. And when I say words like exact, that means the code that you would actually type in. Not just explain what the code would be, but the actual code itself. So section 3, let's jump into that. So we're going to start talking about hyperlinks. And what hyper is really part of HTML. We've learned what HTML stands for, right? Hypertext Markup Language. Well, what hyper means is interactive. So hyperlinks are interactive links that go from one place to another. And there are 2 types of links. There are internal links that link just within the web page, and there are external links that link to other websites or other pages outside of the internal. So those are the 2 types of links there are, and links can be either text or they can be an image, so you can click on an image to create a link. But these are the 2 types of links that there are. Now when you're doing a link, you have to use what's called an anchor tag. And the anchor tag tells the browser, hey, a link is coming up, or you're going to link to something. So here's an exact link right here. So you can see what this would do. What this link would do is it would make the words my page that you would see on the screen, it would make the words my page link to a file called mypage.html. So this is where it goes to, and this is the words that show up on the page. Like right here, this has the word my link. If that was an active link, then that would link to the page. And it has to have this exact structure. The A, the H reference has to have all of that structure. Now if you wanted to link to a page outside, like this link right here, this is a link that goes to Google. And you can see down here I could actually click on that link and it would go to Google. Now if you look at this, what it has is it has http://www.google.com. So what that's saying is that, hey, make this coding be the link from this word. So in the Class Connect write-up, I have a question that says, what would be the exact coding for Facebook? Well, imagine you could put the word Facebook right here, then that would link to Facebook, and then you'd put the word Facebook right here, so that would be the text that would show up. So for the write-up question about Facebook, you just put Facebook in the place of the word Google, and put Facebook in the place of the word Google here, making sure you put a capital F because Facebook should be capitalized. Now they're going to have you go through doing this work. This is part of the assignment, one of the assignments for this week, the hyperlinks assignment. So you need to make sure you go through this work, and I'll create a recording for this. So it has you do this, and then it says add the code to make your invitations and webmaster roles, all they link together. But here you can go down to actually check the code, and then you can see what your code should actually look like. So what you're going to do as part of this assignment, which is over here, hyperlinks assignment, you're going to link all the work that you've been doing, the portfolio, invitation, and the webmaster role website assignment that you've been doing. You're changing the colors of your link. So you can change the colors of your link by putting in particular commands. For example, down here, these are going to be styles that you will create. So like this one, if you hover over the link, then it'll change the link to this color. If you visited the link, then it will change the link to this color. And you've seen those types of things. And this doesn't have you do it. Actually, they do have you practice it down here. Yes, they do have you practice it down here. And they actually give you the code. So they do want you to go ahead and do this, but they give you the code. So you should be able to get this correct with no problem. And it tells you what to save it as and where to save it. Creating a link to another part of the page. This we're not going to do in this class, but you can create a link. Like if you have a web page, you can create a link that would go to the top or the bottom of a web page by using the top command. You would also use the bottom command, and that would return all the way down to the bottom of the page. So some long pages you might use something like that. Now another type of link you can do is an email link. So if you look at this down here, this is the exact link you would put on a page, and this link, if somebody clicked on the words contact me, then it would link to John Doe's email address. Well, in the Class Connect write-up, I asked what is the exact code you would use to send an email to your own personal email address. So you would put your own personal email address right there, and then that would do it. You could just keep the contact me would be fine, but you'd put your own personal email address right there, and that would create a mail to or a contact me email link. Now this assignment, again, I'm going to create a recording for it, but this hypertext or hyperlinks assignment, this is going to be where all of your work so far, your invitation assignment and your webmaster role assignment, where they're going to link back and forth to each other. So you can go in your portfolio and link from one to another. But I'll have a recording for this. So that should be all of section 3, but let's go back to the write-up and see if I answered all the questions. So how does the web browser work to allow you to see a web page? Oh, whoops, that was week 2. I need to go back to week 3. Listen, describe the 2 types of links you encounter. We saw that. Give examples of code for an internal link and external link. I showed you that. Write the complete coding to link to Facebook. I explained that. What does default mean in web design? Well, I missed that. So let's go back and see what default means. Well, if you look up here, this is talking about colors and such. And these different colors, like blue, red for active links, purple for other links. These are called default colors. Default is what happens if you do not specify anything else. So that's what default is. So default is if you don't make any other changes, it's what automatically happens. So it happens if you don't specify anything different. That's what default is. Let's go back to the write-up. So we answered that one, and the exact code for a link to your personal email address. I talked about that, and I showed you exactly how to do that. Okay, section 4. What is one important thing to think about regarding using graphics? What is the alt tag used for with graphics on a web page? Why is 72 dpi or dots per inch preferred for web images? Give sample code you would use to make a soccer ball show up with the alt tag saying my soccer ball and a border around it. Provide the opening and closing tags for this table work. All right, so let's go down into section 4. Section 4 is all about graphics. And we look at section 4. Graphics can be critical elements on web pages because they enhance the web page. They make it more user-friendly for your audience, right? And again, graphics can be just pictures sitting there, or graphics can be linkable, a hyperlink that you can click on and go somewhere. And the thing about using graphics is a big question. You need to ask yourself, does it contribute to the message I'm trying to put across? If not, then leave it out. So that's what you have to think about with graphics. Does it contribute to the message? Or is it just there for filler? So that's the important thing about graphics. Now, graphics also use what are called alt tags. And alt tags, they allow visually impaired persons to see your image by giving them description of the image. Now, you might think it funny, like if you hover over something and then you see the words come out, you might think it funny, well, a blind person, if they can't see the image, they can't see the words. But many blind people also have computers that they talk the web page, and they can hear. They would actually, when they hovered over a picture like of a ball, then the alt tag would actually say, you can read in words, says, baseball or something like that. But voice enhanced, sound enhanced computers for blind people would actually read the word ball or baseball, whatever it happens to be. So that's what alt tags are used for, is they are descriptions of what the image is. That's what an alt tag is, description of what the image is. Now with graphics, we've already talked about GIF and JPEG. In this class, you're going exclusively using JPEG images. Image size is really important, because it depends, the size of the image and the resolutions depend on whether it downloads quickly or not. And there are different types of images. Of course, there are thumbnail, which are very small images. Then you click on them, then it opens a bigger image. And we're going to look at that probably in about week 5 or 6 as you start doing more web page work in NVU. You'll start working on thumbnails. But one thing you want to do, you want to make sure that your image is the right size before you put it on your page. You don't want to resize it once it's on your page, because then it can be real fuzzy and the resolution can be big. So the physical size, like if it's 3 inches by 3 inches, 1 inch by 1 inch, etc., but also the resolution is important. And resolution is dots per inch. And what that means is the printable dots like of ink that you would print if you printed the picture. On the web, most images, well, say like most images are for 300 dots per inch, but on the web, you should use only 72 dots per inch, because that is what most monitors display. So 72 dots per inch is used on the web because that is what most monitors will display. So you don't need to go any higher than that. Now we start talking about images and putting images on a website. You use what's called the source command. And the source command says, hey, here's the source of the image, or here's where it's from, and then this is the name of the image. And the alt tag, this is what shows up when you hover over the image. And they actually don't, it's a shame that they don't in this page have it to where if I hovered over that, then the alt tag would show up. It doesn't, unfortunately. But if you scroll down here, you can see the different shots of images. Like this one, if you use this text to put this image, it would just put this picture of a soccer ball, and then the word soccer ball would show up underneath it. If you use this right here, this would put a soccer ball in the center of the page. It would put a 5 wide border around the image, and it would put alt text soccer ball on it. And then if you use this over here, then this would actually resize the soccer ball. So on the One Class Connect write-up question, I said, what is the code you would use to put a ball on the screen? Well, this would, with a box around it, this would be the code. Now if I go back to that write-up question, one thing you need to look at is it says the code, the alt needs to say my soccer ball. So be careful, because when you look at this just says soccer ball. So you need to change that alt text right there so it says my soccer ball on that Class Connect write-up question. Right, tables. Tables are really important because they help you organize information. And the way you do tables, we'll see it when we use NVU, but the way you do tables, just to think about the coding of it, is you first tell it that you're creating a table, then you tell it the table rows you're working on, and then the data for the tables. So there are really 3 codes that you use when you do tables. So if I go down here, here's the table command. This tells the browser that there's a table there. TR marks the beginning of the table row, and TD means new table data for a cell. So if I go down here, take a look at this, and you can actually copy and paste this into a browser. I think we'll let you copy. Yeah, so you can copy and paste that into a browser, and that's going to create this table. So you can see if I look at this, the command to create a table, there's the beginning command for a table, there's the ending command, so everything between those is a table. Then it says TR means row. So this is really first row, so the first row has 2 entries, and then it ends the first row. Then it starts the second row, and the second row has 2 entries. Then it stops the second row. Then it starts the third row has 2 entries. Then it stops the third row. Then it stops the table. But on that Class Connect write-up question, this is the answer I'm looking for. And we'll do a lot more with tables when we get into using NVU. Now the color website assignment, you're skipping this. I've given you a different assignment for this. It's called the HTML code identification assignment, so you'll be doing that instead of this color document. And table work, we're going to skip that because we're going to do table work when we get into the using NVU. So don't worry about the table work here. You can go through those and try the coding if you want to. Now Graphics Online, so section 5, and there's no Class Connect write-up for this, but just talking about Graphics Online. There are a couple of great places. There's a place called Cool Text and FlamingText.com, and those will let you download some really interesting background graphics and things. But we're not going to be worrying about this, but you can if you choose to when we do later work. If you want to go back and use those websites, we're not doing this website titles assignment, but you can go back and add different graphics in. And NVU allows you to do a lot of that. But the cool text buttons are really interesting. They can really make the work you do much more interesting. The discussions, of course, we're skipping all the discussions in this class. And then the portfolio setup assignment, we're not worrying about that. Again, we're skipping that assignment. So when you get into the work for this week, let's go back to the write-up, make sure I answered all those questions for the second part there. One important thing to think about regarding graphics, I talked about that. Alt tag, we talked about that. 72 DPI, I talked about that. Stamp code and make the soccer ball show up with alt tag saying my soccer ball and a border around it. I showed the example of that. And provide the opening and closing code tags for these. And I talked about that. So I've covered all of that. So let's go back up here to the course home. and look at week 3 again. And again, in week 3, the work for this week, you're doing the hyperlink assignment, you're doing the write-up, you're doing the HTML code identification assignment, and you're doing the unit quiz. So you have 4 things you'll be submitting this week. So if I look down here, there's the hyperlinks assignment, and then you have the HTML code identification assignment. Now these things with asterisks, they don't show up on your page. Those are things that I've set aside, not showing up for you since you're not doing them. So you'll see HTML code identification assignment on yours. And I'll create a recording for each of the assignments for this week. Okay, that's all I have for you. I look forward to your work coming in. This week should go by pretty quickly, so it'll be a chance for you to catch up week 1 and week 2 if you have fallen a little bit behind. And then starting in next week, copyright law unit, we're going to get into, and starting in week 5, we'll start using the web design editor tool. Okay, thanks a lot, everybody. Have a fantastic week. Bye.